That's strange. It took a while for it to actually show that I was streaming. Hmm. It's like the YouTube page froze up. Hey, what's going on, Brian? Huh. It tells me there's a little message on YouTube here. It says that the stream's current bit rate of 2200 is lower than the recommended bit rate. We recommend that you use a stream bit rate of 4500. Every single time I pass 3000, I get lag. I get dropped frames and everything else. I'm not really sure why they would suggest that. But okay. Yeah, it's working fine now. When I put it at like 21, 2200, it works perfectly fine. It's every time I try to pass up that 3K mark and I'm like, well, everything's working. It should work out. And then it starts dropping frames, so I just leave it cuz I'd rather stream in 1080p, but if 720 is what I get without drop frame rates, then that's what I get. Twitch was way worse. Like I had to go like 1500 on Twitch. I don't know what's up with their bandwidth, but it was not working out for me. So I'm not sure what, as always, not sure what I want to play tonight, but I did make a bunch of changes to my arcade. I also did, my up speed is 25 Mbps, so it's plenty to stream 1080p. It's just, it doesn't work, so I don't know. I got 300 down, 25 up. So my internet is more than fast enough to do it. I think it's my router. I'm gonna change out my router. Um, I have kind of an old one, an old Motorola, so I think that that's causing the drops to happen. So once I do that, um, it should be fine. What the heck is a PF sense? It's a combo. It's a router and modem together. Yeah, I don't know what's causing it, but as far as my modem's concerned, I've been looking to upgrade my modem for a long time. I I think it's like maximum. Like I have a download of 300, and I think it caps out at like 75 or something like that on this modem. So it's old. It's it was something. When our place burned down, I had to get a new one, and it was what we could afford at the time. So I just got it and never changed it. Yeah, it's DOCSIS 3.0. Um, it just doesn't have a high bandwidth on it. So of course, everything's wired, so I don't know why it affects it so much. It should be plenty still, but it's not like I'm running wireless on anything. We used to run wireless on our phones, but then we switched to unlimited service, and we don't need wireless anymore on those. We just go off of our regular service, the Verizon. So I don't know. Eventually, I'll switch it up for a good one. Wanted to get one of those gaming ones. I've been doing a little bit of research on them. Yeah, I do that once in a while. Like, without saying too much over a live stream here, when I download a lot of things directly afterwards, I'll unplug the modem and plug it back in, and that's usually about once a week. So it gets done regularly. But I don't understand when you say build one. Like, I've built computers. Every computer I've owned, like personal computer I've built. But how do you build a router? Okay, I'll do that then. It just sounds funny because I've never seen anyone build one, but I'll take your word for it that it can be done. Okay. Hmm. So I went over these themes, most of them, anyways. These right here, and changed out some stuff. Like, they had different pictures there for that one. But they had one picture on the left or one picture on the right, and I wanted it to match the rest of the system, so I added a picture to the side that didn't have one on all of these. And I don't know exactly, I don't remember who did these. I know Stiflis commented on one of my videos saying, I see you use some of my themes, but I don't know if this is the ones he was talking about or the console ones. Enterprise grade level router. Well, I'll have to definitely check it out then. I was messing with Launchbox last night. Um, oh, good. 275 gigs. Wow. I know this whole time, one of the things that's been keeping me from going to Launchbox is that my marquee monitor would be a pain in the ass to get it back to where it is now. But then common sense would have told me that the front end has nothing to do with the marquee, that it's all from LED Blinky, which was exactly the case. I'm fixing Launchbox last night, and I turned on LED Blinky in Launchbox, and sure enough, the marquee turns on the way it's supposed to be. So that concern is right out the door. I don't have to worry about the marquee. I was talking to Critical Sid for a while about how I'm going to get it back the way it is, and he said the XAML code is easy to change and this and that, and you can put it however you want. But I don't even have to mess with all that. I could still use HyperMarquee exactly how and put it exactly how I want it to be. There is a torrent going around called I don't know how kosher it is with Hyperspin, but I mean it's pretty well known, the Hyperspin project, and it's lost a lot of seeders and stuff like that. But um, I don't think it's really doing anything against their rules, as far as I know. I mean, of course, they're combining emulators and ROMs and stuff like that in the package, but as far as like the videos, it comes with all the videos for the games, but they're the 240p version, which is what you can get off Emu Movies for free, anyways. Um, it's kind of dated. Well, it depends on how much space you're willing to put towards it, because it's... Oh, shoot, I gotta turn off my wallpaper. I won't be able to hear what you say, but give me a second. It depends on how much space you want to dedicate to it, because it has every single PlayStation ROM, every single Saturn ROM, every single 3DO ROM. It has all the disc games, the Sega CD, a MAME setup. It's got everything in there, but it's like, when it's unzipped, it's like, I don't remember. I think it was 1.5 terabytes or something. Let me turn off my screensaver. Yeah, that's the one I used to run on my HDPC, but then the drive went out. That's what I had running in the background, but I wasn't using the Hyperspin. I just used it for the package that it was, and then ran ROM collection browser off of it. But it's pretty much a complete setup. Although, like I said, a lot of the stuff is dated, so you're going to wind up having to replace some things. You're going to definitely want to replace the videos with the real ones from Emu Movies, the 480p ones. And then I think that's about it. Some of the themes are old. You're gonna still have to do some updating, but well, let's put it this way. I use the Hyperspin project thing to kickstart my build here. It doesn't have everything that I have, but it has most of it. And I started doing the rocket launcher experience and putting things out, and some people mentioned stuff about the naming scheme I was using. That's one problem with that project thing, is that a lot of the files are really off on the naming. I mean, you'll get the files, but the names aren't really that great. So you're going to wind up having to rename a lot of stuff. But, I mean, I dedicated a day and a half, 2 days, and got it done. So, and I'm not talking nonstop, no sleep. I mean, I took a couple days and got it done. But it's going to have to get done. I mean, because the names are like really way off. When I say that, it's not like just like USA, comma Europe, and it's supposed to be USA, comma Japan. No, it's like Shenmue underscore Dreamcast underscore USA underscore ROM underscore 1256912 underscore. It's like really weird names for the files on a lot of it. A lot of it's named correctly, but then you have those games that are really off. And then when you start delving into like the Sega CD games and the 3DO games, they have Q files. So you're going to have to go into the Q files as well. It's not that bad. If you put the time in and you kind of mess with things and watch the videos, I mean, it eventually becomes second nature as of what you have to do where. Especially now. Back in the day, it was much more difficult with Hyperlaunch because you had to program the systems into an AHK file before they even started. So you were doing a lot of research, trying to find the right commands for it to throw through the AHK file before you can even do anything with the front end. So now it's with Rocket Launcher, it's easy. So all you're doing with the front end is just putting the art together. And I had to rename all the files. I actually added ROM sets because I only had 2,000 games on here. And over the course of 2 days, I renamed all the files and added about 8,000 more games to it. And it was done in 2 days. So you eventually get used to how it works and the process of where everything goes, because every system is the same when it comes to Hyperspin, because you don't have to worry about launching the systems or playing the games from Hyperspin. All you got to worry about is where the media goes, and every system's the same. So once you get used to you do 1 and then 2 and then 3, and then it just becomes a process, and it gets easier as you go and faster. So what I suggest you do is get the systems that you need. You're going to start with the emulators, getting the emulators working. Okay. Well, see, some of the hardest ones to do are PC games, anything computer game related that's not technically a ROM. You know, like a DOS game isn't technically a ROM or a ScumVM. Uh, PC games, they're not ROMs, they're games in themselves. Those are difficult. I don't know. I haven't done Steam. I don't use Steam even, so I have no idea how Steam goes. It has its own front end, so I would assume that if everything's set up correctly inside Steam, that it would work the same way as like ScumVM or DOSBox, where they have their own front ends, and you would just kind of scan in the games a certain way once they're all working in your program. But if they're launching from Steam and there's no problems, then I don't see how it's any more difficult than any other one. But as far as straight PC games that, like I said, I don't use Steam. As far as straight PC games like, um, oh, there you go. I mean, that's PC launcher really then, so it's not that difficult. Most of the trouble you're gonna find is controls, but you're not even using a cabinet, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, but even then, I'm sitting here thinking like that was the one of the more difficult things I had to do was put all the PC games in, and I have about 10 more PC games I want to put on my system, but I just keep looking at them. I'm like, oh man, that was such a pain in the butt to do those. But see, I had to do a lot more than you're gonna have to do. Um, hmm. But well, yeah, I mean, if you want to put the work in, you can get it working off of arcade sticks. You can get PC games working off of arcade sticks, which is what I did. But at the same time, you can always use a 360 controller and it'll work just as good. So it all depends on the game, in my opinion. Though, if you're playing something like Retro City Rampage, you're gonna want to use a controller. Not that you can't use an arcade stick, but a controller will work better. If you're playing something like Mortal Kombat X or Street Fighter Five, you want an arcade stick. So it all depends on the game, but you're gonna find yourself. Well, like I said, it's you don't really have to worry about Hyperspin itself. Hyperspin isn't doing anything with your games. Not anymore. It's not. It used to years ago, but not anymore. It can. There are people who still choose to use Hyperlaunch. I really don't know why. Um, but as far as Hyperspin, you just have to put the artwork in. That's it. You don't have to worry about launching games. That's all. If you use Rocket Launcher, Rocket Launcher does all that. So game launching has nothing to do with Hyperspin anymore. So if it's Hyperspin's ready to launch whatever you got, as long as Rocket Launcher can launch it. Let's put it that way. Oh, you're saying the arcade stick. Okay, not sure how Hyperspin handles it. It should handle the same like a keyboard encoder. If you plug it into a PC, you can use like XPad and program it for the controls of Hyperspin. And then as far as Rocket Launcher, same deal. You're gonna have to program the controls because not all games, PC games especially, will recognize an arcade stick like an encoder for a joystick. You're gonna have to have like a keyboard encoder for some. But I mean, yeah, plugging it in. Um, well, that's what I'm saying. It all depends on the game because the way I have my control set up is um, some games use a joystick, use joy to key, or key to joy, sorry, which translates because this stick is has a keyboard encoder on it. So I'll use key to joy on games like Street Fighter, which don't recognize Street Fighter 5, which doesn't recognize keys for player 2 on the keyboard, but it will recognize a second joystick. So when I use key to joy, I can program these keyboard keys to act like joystick buttons. So that way I can program it into Street Fighter 5. But when I'm doing something like Retro City Rampage, hey, how's it going, Game Vet? When I'm doing something like Retro City Rampage, this has a keyboard encoder on it. I can just do a straight programming of the buttons in the game. And then when I'm doing something like, let's see, something that does not register keys. Oof. Just about every PC game registers the keys, though. Or a joystick. I don't know. Like I said, it all depends on the game, really. Because some games are finicky, and other games are not. Other games are simple and straightforward. But I find myself having to use a combination between XPatter, AHK files, and key to joy. And joy to key as well on some. So it all depends, I mean, on what it is. And that basically just requires research. That requires saying, hey, I want to play this particular PC game. How do I get it to work with a joystick, you know? Yeah, pretty much. It's all dependent. And this is just PC games. I mean, as far as emulators, like, I'm trying to think. I think one of them I had problems with was the PCSX2, where it was registering some buttons as keyboard and some buttons as joystick. Um, but controls are usually the toughest part of everything, in my opinion. Everything's easy to set up and get running. Like, you can see the games on your screen, you can pop them into bezels, you can have everything set and ready to go. And now it's time to do the controls, and that's where the pain in the butt starts. In my opinion, other people are used to those programs. I'm not as used to those as I am everything else. Let's put it that way. So I usually just turn to AHK files. If something doesn't do what I want it to do, I just make an AHK file to make it do what I want it to do, rather than fidget with the program and try to figure it out. I just change it in an AHK file, and it's simple that way. So if anybody ever asked me questions directly about XPatter, I probably really wouldn't know the answer, but I could tell them how to make an AHK file to fix it. What's my thoughts on Retropie? I want one. Are you giving one away? No. I would definitely have a Retropie. If I had like a barcade, I would throw a Retropie in there for sure. I don't feel that Retropie is meant for a large arcade like the one I have. Because it just seems like a waste. Like, why have such a big cabinet when you could put a more powerful machine in there that can run arcade PC games and stuff like that, and it'll fit. But like a bar top, I'd love to have a Retropie bar top. I think the interface is really, really nice on those. The emulation station, they've come a long way from even a year ago. Yeah, I know they do, Brian. That's what I'm saying. To me, it just seems like such a waste, though. I mean, they can do what they want. It's their cabinet. But to me, it just seems like such a waste. I mean, to put that little thing in the cabinet when you have so much space in there to build a PC and play, top of the line PC games on your arcade cabinet. You put Windows 10, you could be playing Killer Instinct on your cabinet. But because you have a Retropie, your options are kind of limited. Yeah, with the old school games, they're perfect. They're good. Yeah, I don't believe they run PS2 or anything like that, or GameCube, but if you're running the older games, it's good. And some people don't have interest in running the PS2 and GameCube, and that's understandable. But I would never do it personally. Thoughts on Simu? Oh, they make a lot of money. um, well, I don't personally use Simu, but it's not by choice. My PC, my arcade PC is not strong enough, and I wouldn't do it on my main PC really because I have no reason to. I have a Wii U and I have a bunch of the games. Simu is the Wii U emulator, and they're making like $25,000 a month on Patreon for development. It might even be more or less. I haven't checked it in a few weeks, but they're making quite a bit on Patreon for development. They have a lot of people backing them, and they do release a lot of things ahead of time. I know Simply Austin stands behind them. He does a lot of videos with their stuff, and that's good. I have no use for it personally because I have my Wii U and I have a bunch of the Wii U games that I want. I'm only missing probably 2 Wii U games that I would actually want to play. So there's no real reason for me to use it, but I think it's awesome that they were able to do that. Unfortunately, it requires such a high-end PC to get full use out of it, but that's to be expected. You know, it's fairly new consoles, so. But it does speak a lot for emulation and the capabilities, how they've come a lot farther in recent years. You know, we would have. They're still trying to get the bugs out of the PlayStation 2 one, you know, and that's being worked on and fixed rapidly. So, you know, it's only a matter of time before they have Xbox One and PS4 and Switch emulators out there working as well. But I think $25,000 a month is a bit much, though. That's an awful lot of money to work on an emulator. But hey, people want to see these Wii U games. It's funny. I think that Simu is going to make more money off their emulator than Nintendo made off the Wii U. Um, I don't know that it's getting people invested back in Nintendo. I think it's getting people invested into more emulators. Um, yeah, I don't see Xbox One being really that difficult to emulate in the end. I just don't think there's enough interest for it right now. They haven't really released much that people would want to emulate, and the stuff that they did is a PC game anyways. I mean, there's only a couple games that aren't on PC. But as for getting invested back in Nintendo, I don't think it's really done much for Nintendo. It's just that, I don't know how to say it. They haven't gained squat from it, and I'm surprised that Simu hasn't gotten shut down because of what they're doing, the way Nintendo is. Uh, Nintendo doesn't care about third-party advertisement. Let's put it that way. They don't care how much attention they get from if Markiplier plays the new Mario Kart game on his YouTube channel. They don't care. What they care about is the money that Markiplier made when he made that video. That's what they care about. So I feel it's only a matter of time before Nintendo actually goes after Simu if they're not already putting legal stuff forward. As far as I know, you can't. I I don't believe so because you need the special code or whatever. I have only used it briefly, um, but you need the special code from that particular game inside of a text file for it to even run. So, I don't think so. Yeah, there you go. GameVet says no. I didn't think so. And I know that that is a big thing. Like, if you're able to play the physical disc on the emulator, then Nintendo would have gone after him already. So, I mean, the Wii U's good. I just recently got one on Christmas. My parents and my brother bought me one for Christmas. The Mario Maker one. And I was so hyped to play Mario Maker. Let me tell you, that was the game I wanted to play. And then I made 2 levels, and the way it works in Mario Maker is you make your level, and in order to post a level online, you have to beat your own level. And once you beat it, you can post it. So I made 2 levels that were damn near impossible with secrets and all kinds of stuff in there. And I love these levels that I made. And I beat them. It took me effort, but I beat them. They stayed up for about 2 weeks. And because they got no stars, Nintendo took them down. I think it was 2 weeks or something like that. Nintendo took them down. And once they take them down, you're no longer able to repost them. They're done. And I said, what? I spent an entire day making one of these levels and trying to make it perfect. And no one could beat it. And that's why I didn't get no stars. It had like 150 tries or 200 tries or something like that. And only one guy beat it. That's one of the levels. And because of that, they take it down. And I'm like, that's nice. That's nice. So now I have this useless level that I worked an entire day on. What am I going to do with it? I can't do anything with it. Because I can't repost it now. So that kind of turned me off from the Mario Maker game. It was a great game until that happened. I don't really see the reason why they would take them down. Those levels must the file that refers to that level must literally take up kilobytes on their server. Nothing. There's absolutely no reason to take it down. But they did. So now I just play like I'll play Splatoon with my 5-year-old. He plays it online. I don't play it online. I like the fact that there's no chat, no online chat with Splatoon, and I don't have to worry about him hearing or seeing things that he shouldn't see at 5 years old. So he plays that, and then I'll play Mario Kart with him, and I'll play Smash Brothers once in a while, but that's the 14-year-old's game. I mostly play Breath of the Wild whenever I sit down to play. It's the Zelda game. What's my favorite 8-bit game? Well, I guess you can answer it too, Brian. I don't know who he's talking to, but I'm going to assume it's me and you. What's your favorite 8-bit game? That's a tough one. Uh, there's a lot of them, you know. I don't know if you're fully aware of how many 8-bit games there are, but hmm. R-Type, probably 8-bit. I would say if it was 16-bit, I'd go with Rastan. That's my favorite 16-bit game. But 8-bit, oh man, it's I can't narrow it down. I'd have to name off a few: Castlevania 3, Mega Man 2, Bucky O'Hare, Journey to Silius. That's about it. Probably, if I had to pick absolute favorites, that's about it right there. Not to say I don't enjoy all the other games, but hmm. Yeah, I'm almost 40 in myself. I'll be 39 this October. Oh my god, Brian's 46. Who let the old dude in? But yeah, 16-bit though is Ruston. Although I've never actually sat and played through the whole arcade. the whole game. It's funny. It's one of those games where you just love playing through a certain part of the game. And I just absolutely love the first level of Roston. I'll play through the first level, and when I get to the second level, I'll shut it off. But then later on, I'll play through the first level again because I love that level so much. I like the music. I like the way it looks. The bad guys, everything about that level. And I think that's more nostalgia because when I was a kid, I couldn't pass the first level because you're using real quarters in there and limited funds on that, and I couldn't pass that first level. So that's in my brain now. Is that first level just over and over again every time I went? And when I get to the second level, it's no longer the same game for me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's strange. I did go through the entire Ninja Turtles game as a kid, and spent. I was not a good kid. My parents gave me, I think it was $7.25 to get school pictures, and I skipped school that day, and that was in like seventh grade. I skipped school seventh grade to go to the laundromat and play Ninja Turtles with the $7.25. And an hour later, I had no money, and I had to get off the street because the cops would. It was Chicago. The cops would take me right back home or to school or whatever. So I was a bad kid. It's nice though now. When you're a kid and you do all kinds of bad shit, and then you're so afraid your parents will find out. You're so afraid that you're gonna get in trouble. But then when you get my age, our age, and you talk to your parents and you tell them all the bad shit you did, it's no big deal anymore. It's like, yeah, when I was a kid, I took $10 from your wallet when you were sleeping. Yeah, I figured you did. Like, it's no longer a thing. But back then, you thought you were gonna get killed. So I just find that funny because I actually did this. My parents came over a couple weeks ago, and we sat down. We were playing board games, and I'm just telling them all the bad stuff I've done. It wasn't the first time I've done this, but just telling them all the bad stuff I did when I was a kid, and it's almost like you're getting it off your chest because you won't get in trouble. I mean, what are they gonna do? Bend me over the couch and beat me with a belt? Oh, 8-bit music. I don't know. Oh, that's Section Z. I'll load that game up and see. Yeah, I think everybody at some point, no matter how much of an angel they were, um, took money from their parents. They could say they didn't, but at some point in their life, they did. Whether it was 25 cents when they were little or $10 every 2 weeks, like I did when they got a little older. This makes me seem like such a bad person. I'm not a bad person, but you know, when you're a kid and you don't get stuff, $50 on Gauntlet. Never done that. Never spent $50 on one arcade game. All right, let's see the music. The NES version. Okay. Well, let me leave this and go to NES then. That wasn't bad though. If we're talking NES, I don't know. I'd have to say like Journey to Silius, or I like Zelda 2. I don't know if you guys can hear that over the mic or not. I did like Zelda 2's music though. I thought that was pretty good. Most modern shmup. It's funny, I got a couple. I don't remember the names, but there's a couple PC ones that I was gonna put on here. But I don't think it's a PC game. I think can't say I've ever played this game. That background is really throwing me off. Oh, so it's like that, huh? My buttons are reversed or something. I switched the NES emulator that RetroArch is using. Ah. Oh my god. So it's confusing. The right shooting is on the left button, and the left shooting is on the right button. Could always use turbo. Come on, why is there so many damn bullets? It's like they don't want to give you a way through. Sorry if I'm not watching chat, but... Okay, what am I supposed to do here? Go through? Alright. Oh, good lord. Get away from me. I'll just keep going down. Oh. Holy hell, you can't breathe. It's probably game over. Yeah, I figured. Alright. You know what would be easier? If I used this. I apparently went the wrong way anyways. No, I did terrible there. Oops. Here you go. Here's my favorite music. 8-bit. I'm not sure what the buttons are. I haven't used the controller in a while. Oh, you son of a... Those damn lasers always give me trouble. I'm playing terrible right now. You know why? Because the last time I played was on the Retron and it had a actual NES controller, which made it way easier to handle this. That's terrible. And this game is ruthless. It barely gives you health. Like recharges on your health. I don't know. I hate playing with the 360 controller. I got it set up in there in case my kid wants to play GameCube or something, but I hate using that to play old games. Let me see. Let me check my PC games, Brian. I'll tell you if I got a shmup on here that's recent. I don't know that I do, though. Oops. No, this is a platform. It's about as close as you get. I think it would have to be the most recent then, since I don't have a PC one. It would have to be on here. Maybe here. Right here. It's probably the most recent. Chimera, and then there's other ones. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I do with my classics. I have one wheel with all the games on it, and then each individual classics wheel has their particular games on it. This, I love this one. This one's an awesome one. This one's good too. Ikaruga's good. But yeah, I think Homura is the most recent one. Yeah, a lot of these are on Dreamcast. This is the Sega Naomi. So the Dreamcast was basically an arcade machine. I mean, that you can bring home. A lot of these were imports, but they came out on the Dreamcast. Yeah. I do like how this one feels, how it plays better than the Dreamcast version, and how it looks too. I just don't like that I'm going to have to unlock the characters if I want it. And the way Marvel vs. Capcom 2 works with unlocking characters is a timer. So I would literally have to leave the game on for days on end. Probably longer than that. There's a code to do it, but I'm not going to do all that. It's a mess of a code. Yeah, you know what? I get sent emails. No, I don't care, GameBit. I swear. Everyone swears as far as I'm concerned. There ain't no kids watching my chat, I'm hoping. So I get sent email. Oh, hang on one second. Speaking of chat, it messed up. Yeah. So I get sent emails from people with Kickstarters who want me to do like a review of their game on my like as if I do game reviews or something. I don't know. But they're asking me if I can do a review of their game. They're sending me a free code to play it, to check it out. And one game I was going to do a review, but I only had 9 days before their Kickstarter ended, and I was up to my neck in doing all kinds of other stuff at the time, and I couldn't devote enough time to do a proper review of the game. But the game itself was pretty darn awesome. It was, I forget the name offhand, but you basically got, I'll let you know. I'll send you a message with the name so you can check it out. I know they met their Kickstarter, so it's definitely coming out. It was much in the way of Ikaruga. There were stages that were vertical, stages that were horizontal. The graphics were just insane, and you had 3 types of bullets. And one type of the bullet, when you shot that bullet, it would do the most damage, but it would take away from your charge. I don't recall. I'll give you the information on it. I have to look up the email that I got, but I can give you the info on it. But I mean, I think the bullet system they used was pretty awesome. Like I said, it did massive damage to the enemies, but it only held a certain amount of charge. So you would have this bar that as you use that type of bullet, let's say the blue, it would take away that bar, and then you can't use it anymore. And then it had the middle one, which when you shot the bullet, it would recharge your health, but do less damage. And we'll call that the red one. And then they had the green one that recharged the health of the thing you were shooting, but it recharged your special weapon. Isn't that awesome? It's 3 choices you have to make for your bullets, and picking your targets as to what you're going to recharge and when, and what you're going to do damage to. And I thought that was it's a unique idea. It takes the idea that Ikaruga has and kind of runs with it and takes it a little bit further. Yeah, no kidding, right? So I'll get you the information on it. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me go. Let me take a second, AFK here. I'll look it up on my phone and I'll give you the information when I get right back. Okay? I'll be right back. Okay, so my phone is being stupid for some reason. It's not showing the email, so let me check it on the computer real quick. Okay, so that was stupid thing that just happened. Can you hear me? Everything going okay through the stream? Okay, so I gotta redo the chat here. Yeah, I don't think he left. Okay, I don't think. Oh, Jesus Christ! Everything's going wrong here. I don't think he left. I think it kicked him off because, yeah, because I went to check my other email and it signed me out of my YouTube. So, because I don't use my actual email for contacts through YouTube, I use a different email that's in my channel the about section. So when I went to check that email, it knocked me out and probably kicked me offline. So I'll have to give you the information later on because I can't get into it. So it's gonna kick off the stream and everything. But they got I'm sure they got their Kickstarter still up and everything. I mean, their Kickstarter, it was successful, but usually the page stays up afterwards. I know you said earlier you were asking if you should ditch hyperspin now. I don't know quite yet. Um, yeah, it's a PC game. It's going through Steam. I don't think there's any console versions coming out for it. It's an indie company, so they probably don't have the means to put out console versions yet. Yep. Yeah. They've completed most of the game already, and um, it's they're I believe they're still running the Kickstarter. I have to get the information on it, but I believe they're still running another Kickstarter to add more things to the game. But the game's good to go itself. They're just adding more levels and stuff like that to it. I have yet to donate anything to Kickstarter. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or what, but I don't really use stuff from Kickstarter. But this game looks really good. Oh wow, cool. Although a lot of those games lately have been kind of a lot of build up and disappointment in the end, unfortunately. Oh, in a couple days. Nice. Is that through Steam as well? Yeah, I like that ukulele game. I was looking forward to a lot. And then everything I heard about it, it wasn't that great in the end. But I was keeping track of that game, like looking up on it. It says you talk too much, and I turned that off. That's weird. It's a spam filter, and I turned that off for my streams. I don't. Let me check and see if it's on still. That's interesting. So my default settings have it off, the spam filter off. But I think what it does is if it's not a planned event and it's just me just happening to go online like I always do, that it has like other settings. Because I know my default settings are to not monetize my live streams too, and it still does that. So I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't live stream a lot, so I don't really learn the ins and outs of it as much as I probably should. I guess he did leave. I guess he popped out. Under DOS? I'm sure there were a couple, but I mean, there's one in particular under Amiga. Well, there's a bunch under Amiga, but one that's really good. This one, and it's let me start it. I don't know how the controls are going to be, but we'll find out. Oh man, this emulator, I swear. Trying to figure out how to get the speed just right. Because it was either too fast or too slow. And luckily I knew this game like top to bottom, because I played this tons of times when I was a kid. So I knew how it should sound. So I was able to compare it to that. I don't think I can skip to the beginning. They didn't make it easy to do that. Oh, geez, don't want to do that. I'll just let it play through the intro. This game's cool, though. You can pick one of 4 levels. You can't pick all of them right away because you get money. Yeah, it was PAL NTSC. That's exactly what the problem was. And matching up the speeds for it. So you see player 1 has $200. I don't know what the fire button is. I hope it's not. I thought I set it up with one of the controls. I guess not. I hope it's not Controller Alt, because those are the buttons I use for exiting out of rocket launcher stuff. I thought it was space. Oh, I found it. Okay, so it's down, up, right, and left. And then the fire button's probably the middle button. Yep. Boy, this is going to be a pain in the butt. I hate playing these types of games on a keyboard. But see, you collect all the money. Oh, and you don't want to touch the walls. This is definitely a pain in the ass game because it doesn't take much to kill you. You don't get a lot of lives. And there's shit everywhere. Oh, see, the last one's died from me shooting him in the legs. And so you get to these shops and you spend your money to buy your upgrades. This is such a pain to play like this. And that's how you die. But there's a submarine level. There's other ones. See, stuff like this, though, I have to set the controls. I have to go in and set up the controls for it because I haven't done that yet. Yeah, the submarine, the space shuttle, and the space marine or whatever. A Psygnosis game wheel in Amiga? What do you mean? Like a sub wheel? No. No, I don't. I don't have them separated. Sounds like something I should do, but I haven't done it yet. That's one thing I didn't get to do with Hyperspin yet. Is genre wheels for the systems. I could, but I've been doing all the other stuff, uh, and haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to work on my own system. I'm just curious if it's the same buttons across the board here, or if it's going to change up. I do remember I had an X arcade stick hooked up. Oh, good. It's the same buttons. Okay, so then this is probably much easier to do with a joystick. This is one of my favorite Amiga games right here. Could never get it to work before in my previous install, and I just exited. All right. Mm. Yeah, on my old install for Hyperspin, I had Amiga, but I could never get this game to work. And then I had my Xbox with coin ops on it, and still couldn't get this game to work. So this is actually the first time I've ever. This install right here is the first time I ever had that game working, and that's one of my favorite games. So I would say I've probably put together Hyperspin maybe 3 or 4 times total, like an entire install of Hyperspin. And this one right here that I've done is probably the best one so far. I'm pretty happy with how it came out, which is why it's so hard for me to switch to Launchbox, because I finally, after all those attempts, got this where I want it to be. But I mean, there's still a lot of games with controls that aren't set up properly, like Amiga and the Commodore 64. The controls aren't set up for games that need controls, and I just want to get anything running. I would play some Plants vs Zombies right now. My 5-year-old's got me playing that now. Can you beat this level for me? Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then I'll beat it and then get him to the next level. And can you beat this level for me too? He just wants to watch me play. So, but when I play it here, it doesn't stream the picture because it's the type of um, video filter that it uses or something. I don't know, but it just doesn't work. Just like the other game, I want to be the guy. I think that one doesn't stream. I'm gonna check it just to see, but I'm almost certain that one doesn't work either. I fixed it. It used to not go full screen, but it just won't stream, I don't think. Let's see. It'll get stuck on the fade. Even though it's working, you can see it on the little screen in my camera down there, but the stream itself gets stuck. So, widescreen screen games? Yeah. Most of my PC games I don't use. Well, all of my PC games I don't use bezels at all. I don't use bezels on a Thomas Wave or Sega Naomi games because they're normally widescreen in the arcades. Um, but for the most part, I do use bezels if I can. I prefer the bezeled look. I don't know why. I guess I like having more artwork options. No, I did. I played Volgar. Maybe you weren't on, but I played Volgar for a little bit, and um, I'll play some Street Fighter versus Tekken. Another Street Fighter game. I do love me some Street Fighter. I forget how to start it. Haven't played it in a while. Always the same crap. Seriously. There we go. Hang on 1 second. Give me a second. Thought I heard somebody open my front door, and that's not really something you want to hear at 2:45 in the morning. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? Back up, back up. Okay. Except his low punch. Okay, that's why. This is the standalone version. Oh, what did I do that for? Stupid. I'm not even paying attention here. I don't want to do this. Okay. No, wait, why did it do that? Okay, so go back as medium punch. Accept. Yeah, this looks about right. Accept. Oh, not signed in. Nope, that had nothing to do with it. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. Weird. Yeah, this is the standalone version of it. Oh. Really, with this? Really? I really like this one. I like this one more than Street Fighter V, honestly. I like the art style. And I think that was a lot of people's problem, was the way that the drawing was, the art style. But they even fixed that in a patch. You can change the way it looks. I like the backgrounds and everything. Really? Well, people will always complain. I haven't seen the Switch version yet. I heard it was pretty good. But then I also heard it wasn't good at all, so... You know, I like to judge things for myself, so... But I haven't seen it at all yet. Really? I thought they already came out with a high-res version, too. I remember watching a video on YouTube about how they spent a lot of time redrawing the characters, and they had to stay within the confines of the original artwork because of the hitbox. So it was tough for them. This was years ago. Oh. HD remix, yeah. What's the price on the new one? Is it a $60 game? Come on. Yeah, I don't have a Switch either. The only thing I would have got a Switch for is Breath of the Wild, and I just got that on Wii U. It was no big deal to just get it on that. I think they made a mistake. Not that I'm not glad they made the mistake, but I think they made a mistake by putting Breath of the Wild on the Wii U as well. Because they would have really done some... I mean, they're behind, but eventually their sales are they're going to catch up, and their sales are going to stop eventually. Because everyone who wants a Wii is going to have one, or a Switch is going to have one. And they could have sold a lot more. They would have had people just waiting for the Switch to come out if they would have made it a Switch exclusive for Breath of the Wild. Really? Stop jumping around. Poor zombie. Not getting any use. Really? The first thing you need to do is, if your emulators are running fine and they're playing the ROMs you need them to play by themselves, then you need to close Rocket Launcher and you need to set them up in HSLQ, HLSQ. You need to set them up in Hyperspin first. And that way, when you set them up in Hyperspin, then they're going to show up in your Rocket Launcher. And then you can make the settings for them. As long as you connect to your Rocket Launcher. But you could do that Once you set them up, just get the emulators themselves set up in. Oh my goodness, get off me. Oh my, are you serious right now? Yeah, Hyper HQ. You're going to want to set them up in there first. And then once they're all set up in there, load up... Really with this? Load up Hyperspin, make sure that they're there, and the wheels are there. And the XMLs load. You can go into each wheel, view the games. It doesn't matter if they have artwork or anything yet. Oh, Final Burn Alpha and 1 ROM. Okay. Well, that's the process you're going to want to do. You're going to want to, every time you get a new emulator, you're going to want to get it working outside of everything else, by itself. The emulator with the ROM. And then once you have that working, you're going to add it to Hyper HQ. Point it to the emulator, point it to the ROMs, put in the ROM types. In your case, it would be zip. And set it for Hyper Launch. To launch with Hyper Launch. And then once you do that... Sorry. I don't want them to get the jump on me again here. Once Hyper HQ is set up with your emulator, then you check it to Hyperspin to make sure everything is set up properly. You're not going to be able to launch the ROM yet. But as long as you can get to the wheel and see your ROM in the wheel, you should be good to go with Hyperspin. So after that, then you go into Rocket Launcher and you set your... No, it's Hyper Launch in Hyper HQ. But if you set it to Hyper Launch, it'll go to Rocket Launcher. But they don't. It doesn't physically say Rocket Launcher in Hyper HQ. It says Hyper Launch. So you're going to want to point Rocket Launcher. After you get all that done, you're going to want to go into Rocket Launcher UI and set Hyperspin as your plugin. And you're going to point the... I'll show you in a second. I'll go and show you. She's gonna switch. It sounds confusing only because I'm like saying the stuff rather than showing you. I'll show you. Let me open up my stuff here. Alright, so I got Hyper HQ opening, and then I'll open Rocket Launcher UI. And then I'll show you exactly what's gonna talk to each other here. So the first thing you need to do is, let me go through them real quick. Alright. So you're going to go to Main Menu Wizard. And you're going to add your system through there. You're going to add your system through that. And then once you have your system in there, you'll go to Wheel Settings and then choose it. So in my case, I chose MAME. And then I found out before on a previous stream that if I click this, it's going to erase mine. So I don't want to do that right now. But you're going to click on Executable. You're going to point it to where Final Burn Alpha is, because you're adding Final Burn Alpha. So you'll point it to where that is. And then you're going to click on ROM path. You'll point it to your ROMs. And then you're going to fill out this extensions thing with zip. Doesn't really matter what you put here, because this used to control what the windows that displayed after you launched your emulator, but Rocket Launcher takes care of all this now. So it doesn't matter what you set here. This doesn't matter either because Rocket Launcher does this too. So you don't even have to worry about all those. But you're going to set Hyper Launch, and then PC game should be disabled. So once you have that like that, then only with Final Burn Alpha, of course, then you're set with the Hyper HQ. You don't really have to do anything else. Now you can change all these other things later on, but for now you just want to make sure your system starts up. So get that emulator programmed in there, and once it's programmed in, when you open up the Rocket Launcher UI, you'll see it in your menu there. It's probably empty now when you open it. If you haven't put it in Final Burn Alpha, it's just going to say global. But once you enter a system in Hyper HQ, actually, sorry, I don't want to make this confusing. Let me go back a second. Okay, so once you put the system in Hyper HQ, it will not show up in Rocket Launcher UI yet. What you have to do is go to General Settings and point this right here to the Hyperspin EXE. So you're going to do the little magnifying glass and point that towards Hyperspin's EXE, and you're going to go here to default plugin, and you're going to select Hyperspin. Okay? So then you'll be set. Then what you'll do is you'll shut down Rocket Launcher UI and open it up again, and when you do that, you'll see MAME in there. Or Final Burn Alpha. And then from there, then you can worry about all the other settings and stuff. But really all you have to do to get your games launching is pretty much all you should worry about right now. I wouldn't worry about fades or bezels or any of that other stuff until you have all of your emulators and games working in there that you want to be working. And then you just add your ROM path. You point it towards your ROMs. Like right here, I have all of my... You were asking earlier, can you point two systems to one path? Yes, you can. I have my MAME wheel, which is my Arcade Classics, with all of my different folders. I pointed to all my different ROM folders. And then each separate one, like Atari Classics, is just pointed towards that particular ROM folder. So you can add in as many ROM folders as you want. There is one trick, though, with doing this. How do you get Hyperspin to recognize it? And I'm going to show you how. And you probably do want to look back over this when I'm done. I have a special folder for my MAME ROMs. You see here, it says Dummy MAME ROMs. That is a folder that I keep all of my... now, I'm sure it would work with search subfolders, but I don't want it to pick up everything, and I'll show you why. So, Hyperspin emulators, MAME, ROMs. Okay, so I have all of my stuff separated in different folders. And I have my BIOS folder, all the BIOS files directly in my ROM folder here. And then I have each thing separate. And in the beginning, I had MAME all and MAME separate because I had my Atari Classics, my Capcom Classics, all had their specific ROMs in these folders. And then whatever was left after I rooted all the classics out, I put into the MAME folder. And that was my Arcade Classics wheel. But I didn't like how that was. But that's how I set this up. That's why search subfolders is disabled. But I didn't like how it was because then the main menu showed like Ninja Turtles and Simpsons and Street Fighter and all of this stuff. But those games were not in that wheel. They were in separate wheels. So what I did was I just made the MAME wheel with all the ROMs in it. But these are still separate. Okay? Like there's only 400 or so ROMs in here. Yeah, 488. I have 1,800 MAME ROMs separated throughout the folders. But this keeps them separate. And this dummy MAME ROM folder is 1,842 dummy files. By the way, if you ever need to make a list of something in a folder, this right here is a lifesaver. File list generator. You just click it, boom, list done. And then you can just go to edit, replace, .zip with blank, replace all. And you now have your list of everything in that folder. Just in case you ever need a list. But that, I've used that a lot with the stuff that I do. Renaming folders, because I use Ant Renamer, and it allows you to put a text file with a list of names in it, and batch rename a bunch of files to whatever is on the text file list. So I would make a list of my ROMs, like this, and then make a folder with like 1,800 new folders in it with no name, and run this list through Ant Renamer on those folders, and I would now have 1,800 folders renamed after my main ROMs. So that comes in handy for a lot of rocket launcher stuff and things like that. And it's just a simple bat file. This is all it is. That right there. So if you're going to watch the video, I can't hand it out because I don't remember where I got it. I believe it was made by somebody on the Hyperspin forums. But if you're going to watch the video over again after I repost it, that's what you need to type in to a file and just make the extension bat. Yeah. And so these are dummy ROMs, and what that means is they're empty. 0 kilobyte ROMs. There's nothing in them. They take up no space. It's just so Hyperspin can recognize all of my games. And what happens is I point to a dummy ROM folder with HyperHQ, because all HyperHQ is doing is putting them in Hyperspin. That's it. Once they're in Hyperspin, that's all you got to worry about. Rocket Launcher does the launching. So it doesn't matter what you point Hyperspin to, as long as it has something showing your ROMs, like this. Like, let's go to ScumVM. I'll show you that too. It's further down. ScumVM. See, text files. That's my ROMs for ScumVM. I point it to a folder that has text files in it. Right here, text files. Nothing but text files named after my games, so that Hyperspin can just read the text files. Otherwise, I'd be stuck going to the games folder, and the game folders look like this. Look at all that. ANG, IMD, CAT, SND, all those files. It's like a pain in the butt. So you use a text file in Hyperspin. I don't know if that makes any sense, but maybe that'll help you out with putting systems in the future, because certain systems will do that. Like PC games, when I put those in, I use the shortcuts, and the file extension is link, LNK. And when I have my PC launcher here, these are all my PC games, I have a folder specifically for shortcuts right here. And it's all the shortcuts to my exe files. And so Hyperspin scans this folder. Even though Rocket Launcher doesn't use these shortcuts to launch the games, you need something plausible for HyperHQ to recognize your games. Otherwise, they won't show up in Hyperspin at all. HyperHQ, all you're doing is just putting something there so that it can see your games and put them on the wheel. And once you click that start button, Rocket Launcher takes it from there. So I wouldn't worry too much. You don't even need an executable, as far as I know. You don't even have to have an executable there, but I put it anyways. Not anymore, you don't. Years ago you had to have it, but not anymore. Just the shortcuts, or just the files for the ROMs. That's it. So once you get those ROMs in there, your ROM path, however many there may be, one or many, you're going to pick your default emulator. So you just pick this little magnifying glass, you find your Final Burn Alpha right here, and you're going to double click that. And then you should be good to go from that point. Like, you can go into Hyperspin at that point, shut down Rocket Launcher UI so it saves everything, and then you go into Hyperspin and launch your game, And it should launch fine. I'm putting MAME because it was my MAME wheel. Is that the right MAME? Probably not. That's the right MAME. Now, I could launch with RetroArch, but I choose not to. I have everything set up in MAME already with my control panels and stuff, and I don't want to lose any of that, so I choose to stick with MAME over RetroArch. Yeah, unfortunately, I barely have the time to do what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to do a tutorial on how to set up pause the way that I have it. And then I'm supposed to do a tutorial on how to set up fade the way I have it. And I haven't done either one of those yet. I was supposed to get them done a week ago. And then I have to do a video for the Patreon page coming up at the beginning of the month here, which will most likely be how to make the menu logos for pause. But I don't know if you've seen that new Zelda thing I did, but I plan on doing a lot more of those. Now that I've just about finished all the fades for the major systems and even some of the weirder systems. There's not a whole lot of systems left for me to make fades for. So I've been moving on to like specific series, like Zelda, for instance. So I made fades for the collection of those. And then they also have pause menu logos. And one thing I should have done was make bezels for it, but I don't do bezels really, to be honest. So it's got the Master Sword on each side. I must have went through so many different renditions and ideas for how I was going to do these menu logos for the Zelda collection, and this is the one I settled on. I had background art on it, faded background art, and different Master Swords, and one Master Sword, and it was just like a big thing trying to decide. But I'm also going to be doing the Super Mario series, the Street Fighter series, and the Final Fantasy series. So they'll have their own specific menu logos and fade for when you load up the game. Their own layer 4, animated image on the fade, everything is going to be unique. And like I said, I would do a bezel, but I'm hoping someone else picks that up and says, hey, he did this, let me make the bezels for it, but I doubt it'll happen. Oh, did you see the one that I made? The Fightcade one? Yeah, those other ones are crazy. They're using Adobe Premiere for that. I can't afford Adobe Premiere, so I don't use Adobe Premiere. I do the best with what I can, but some of them are crazy. Like James Baker's are kind of out there. But for the most part, if you see like those big box ones that looks like Stranger Things and the animated text and all the lights and stuff like that, you could do a lot of that in Sony Vegas, but mostly it's Adobe Premiere that they're using. I'm not saying it's all the program. I'm just saying the program itself is capable of doing that if you know what you're doing. So that's how they're doing it. It's leaps and bounds above Sony Vegas, which is what I use for my animation and stuff. Well, sometimes they'll make them. Other times they'll. I found some. Specifically, I found the Batman artwork that James Baker used, and he turned it into vector art for one that he did recently. But they find it online. The same thing as me. You find it online, and then you clean it up and you make it something else. You make it better than it was. The clips are made in Adobe Premiere. I mean, if they have to make like sparkles or lights and stuff behind it, they use Adobe Premiere. You could take a picture, for example, you could take a picture and it may not look like much of anything, but if it has multiple colors on it, you could put it into Adobe Premiere, give it like a Gaussian blur and light flares coming off of it, animated light flares and stuff, and you can turn just a picture of whatever into an animated background if you wanted to. And that's mostly what they do with these things. That's how they create them. To get the same color scheme, if you're doing a Metroid theme, you would get a picture of Metroid, put it in the background, and then just start messing with the rays, the color, the lighting, the spectrums, all these things you're going to mess with to I don't know the terminology offhand for a lot of this stuff. I took graphic design for 2 years in college, but that was like 14 years ago, so it's been a while. A lot's changed. The ideas are still the same. The methods have changed though. But it is what it is. They're used to the programs. They've used them for a while, and they know how to get what they want out of it. And you can literally take just about any piece of artwork and turn it into something better. But they do a lot of searching too. It's all about searching and finding the perfect art and the perfect items to use in the video. And I know James Baker, I've seen some of his stuff, and I have come across looking up, I look up thousands of things online on a weekly basis with what I'm doing with Rocket Launcher. Thousands of things online I go through, and I've seen James Baker's source art for quite a few of his themes. And I can tell you, he puts a lot of work into making that source art into something, it wasn't. He puts a lot of work into it. It's not easy. I mean, maybe if I were to devote my time completely to animated, cinematic themes, I could probably do better than what I do now, like the Fightcade one. I could have made it better, but it got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm taking too long on this. I need to hurry this up, finish it, so that I can get this Genesis stuff out there and finished up. Because that's my main thing, is doing the rocket launcher stuff. And the cinematic theme was just a side thing. But see, James Baker takes that cinematic thing full time. That's all he does. And plays Punch-Out and Mario. But he does that. That's his thing. So when you're devoted to one particular thing, you tend to be a lot better at that one particular thing. It becomes a lot easier, too. I can say that much. When you make 1, 2, 3, 4 cinematic themes, the fifth one is easier than the fourth, and the sixth is easier than the fifth. So, long-winded response, per usual. Not to say James Baker is the only one doing it, by the way. There's a lot of people who are doing it, and a lot of people that are good. I've seen some okay ones, but I've seen some fantastic ones too. So, uh, I mean, it's like I'm not gonna begin to compare it to anything that I've done, but it just comes down to if you can find good source art. And if you find the good source art, then everything else becomes a lot easier. It's when you can't find good source art that it becomes more difficult. And I'm speaking from experience with the fades. and somebody wanting Intech 4000. You know, like, what the fuck is an Intech 4000? But I told myself in the beginning, no matter what the system is, I will make the fade because I want to have fades for every single system possible. But I never heard of an Intech 4000 or whatever it was. So here I am online looking for artwork for an Intech 4000. And all I can find are screenshots that are like 240 by 360 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, God, I have to use this. So I have to take that artwork, cut out the part of the picture I need, blow it up really big, repaint it so that it's higher resolution, and then shrink it down to the size that I need. And it's just something that you got to do. I mean, when you're doing this kind of stuff. And like this video right here, Capcom Classics, was done by somebody, and it did not have Ken on there. It only had the Ryu. But I managed to find the Ken that goes with it, put him on the video, and time it right with the rest, with the Ryu, and you wouldn't know the difference. And I re-encoded the video at 1080p with 60 frames per second. So you wouldn't know the difference looking at it that it was tampered with. But when you find the right source art, it makes everything cleaner. It makes everything easier. It wasn't that difficult. It literally, I did that with every single one of these classics videos. I added something in on the right. Some look better than others, but like I found the Luigi that belongs with this Mario. So, I mean, it literally took like 5 to 10 minutes for each one. It wasn't that bad because the original artwork for the Mario on the left was high res, and I happened to come across the high res one for Luigi looking on Google. So it's all about how lucky you are and how random the system is. You get a completely random system, then it becomes much more difficult to do the artwork for it, to make something for it. What's custom stick art? Oh, stick art. Okay, for your fight stick. Well, a lot of times people will take high-res images and put them together to create one picture. And that's probably what you wind up doing if you want it to be high resolution. There's a lot of pre-made ones. I personally haven't found any pre-mades that I like because I don't like the I don't really like the where it says arcade classics or something like that, where it shows Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and stuff. I like designs. I like sort of like not tribal, please, not tribal. I like boy, it's really hard to put this into words, but especially when I'm tired. But I prefer designs over pictures. There you go. And I haven't found any that I would actually put on my cabinet yet. At all, if I'm even going to do it. But I will tell you one thing. This Extension Arcade stick, the default artwork that comes in it is disgusting. And I've been meaning to take this out of here. Only thing is I have to take all the buttons and joystick and everything off of this in order to get the vinyl out from underneath this plexi. And I haven't had the time to do it, but I plan to one day get this vinyl out of here. It's fugly. But I would have to replace it probably because the menu buttons are labeled. They say start, coin 1, select, menu, mouse left. And after a year, I remember where they're at all the time. It's just my kids won't. Yeah, if you're, what kind of theme are you looking for?
What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for? What kind of theme are you looking for?
That's the funny thing. I would prefer a clear black panel at this point. Your own. But do you have any idea what direction you want to go with it? Like what kind of artwork? Yeah, but I won't need it. I already have Plexi on here. It's just a vinyl sticker under the Plexi, so I just got to take that off. You know, if I ever did artwork, it wouldn't be on my sticks. It wouldn't be on the front. It would be on the sides. And I've seen some pretty cool artwork where one side is Nintendo and the other side is Sega. Something like that I'd like to do, but that's only because my room consists of that stuff. You know, this whole side of my room over here is all Nintendo stuff, all over the walls and stuff. So it would make sense in here. But that's another video I have to do. Jeez, see what I mean? I have to do a review on this cabinet because since I've had it for a year, I figure I can give a pretty good review on the ups and downs of it and stuff and the sticks. There were some problems with the sticks. Panzer 3 Customs Panzer 3. I'm gonna take a quick AFK and I'll look it up right now. I'll take a look at it. Oh, I don't think it's a tank. Okay, I found it. Oh, that's pretty cool. It's got a USB 3.0 on the back. At least that's what I'm seeing, but it won't let me zoom in. I'll check it out. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a look at it. Good God, man, this thing's expensive. It is pretty cool that it's. I mean, they're charging $3 for a screw, but it's pretty cool that they have that toggle switch so that you can switch between the left stick and right stick and digital. That's pretty neat. That's something I wish I had on my arcade here. A toggle switch for that. To be able to just, for like GameCube and Nintendo 64 and stuff, just flip a switch and have it go between the different controls like that. That's an interesting idea. I never even really thought about using a switch for that like that. I guess I can't really say that's a lot of money for a stick. I think this one was $350, something like that. And then they come out with a new one lately that I would have rather have had because it has a 4-way joystick and a spinner on it. But oh well. And all the menu buttons are on the right side. I actually thought about selling this stick to get the new version, putting this towards it and selling some of the other sticks I got, because I got 4 of the single X Arcade sticks, and you can't get those anymore as far as I know, or they're hard to find. And then I have the 2-player X Arcade sticks, which I would not sell because I use those for the 360 and the PS3. But those single ones I'd probably sell off, because I did use them for coin ops on my Xbox before I had an arcade machine. But now that I have an arcade machine, they're just gathering dust and taking up shelf space. So I could dump off this arcade stick and a couple of those and probably have enough to buy the upgraded version of this one. But see, then I'd have to go a while without sticks on this arcade. So, and when it comes down to it, I'd probably rather keep this and keep it in this cabinet and somehow get the other one and build another cabinet. Oh yeah, these work on the Xbox One with a little adapter. You buy an adapter separate, and it plugs in and works on there. I've thought many times of getting a used Xbox One and throwing it in the arcade just to have Killer Instinct. But I don't know. I'll wait until they're much cheaper and do it. I don't have the tools. Um, well, I do have the tools. I just don't have the know-how to build everything from scratch. I cut the panel that goes around my marquee monitor, and even that's crooked in some spots. It's not perfect, and if I were to make something from scratch, it would have to be perfect, and I just can't do that. Plus, I'm absolutely afraid to cut through plexi, and there's no place anywhere near here that cuts plexiglass. There's not even a glass cutting place. I looked because I wanted to replace the plexi on here, the screen, with glass, tempered glass, but there's no one around here. I was told that Home Depot does it. Nope, they don't do it here anyways. So I just don't have the means to do it myself. Um, if I had a garage to myself and the tools necessary, I'd probably have 3 or 4 cabinets by now. I would have built them. I would have learned and built them myself. But I just don't have the space or the tools. So I would prefer to build something from the ground up by myself. Really. MAME cabinet. MAME cab in action. Is this the one that's... Yeah, I've seen this before. It's got the rotating screen. I've seen this. Yeah, I like his cabinet. The only thing I don't like about it is the base box that he's got in the bottom. If you're gonna do that, I think you should go with a high end sound system on it, not a generic one like he's got poking out of the front of his cabinet. But yeah, I've seen this. It's pretty cool. He's actually got a few videos showing it off. That screen is just insane. I would love to have that screen. What is that, like a 24-inch? Oh no, that's right, it turns. Never mind. He's got it set up that way. Yeah, that's too much work for me. And I do a lot of shit, and that's too much work for me. Oh, that's a 40-inch in there. Oh my god. You know, I do so much stuff on my freaking cabinet, and I don't even use... Like, I went out and got those spotlight lights that you see like on Christmas and stuff, where they people point them towards the front of their house. Uh, and I have it on the top of my arcade cabinet, and I did have it set up to where when you turn on my cabinet, it would glow across the whole ceiling in the game room and sparkle and move in circles and stuff, and it looked pretty cool, but it eventually just got annoying. So like, I think I'm done adding stuff to the exterior of my cabinet. But interior wise, I really would love to get a rotating monitor set up. That would be cool. This cabinet's not made for that, but I mean, unfortunately, if I were to get a rotating monitor, I would wind up having to get a smaller one, and that wouldn't work. Yeah, a 29-inch. That's crazy. A 29-inch 4.3 monitor. I wonder how much he paid for that. Oh, turned vertically, it cuts it. Okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant he found a 4.3 monitor like that. I'll tell you though, the arcade stuff is getting. Yeah, I was behind on the conversation there. Right? Arcade stuff is picking up more and more as time goes on, and stuff is getting more expensive to find. And I was looking for a 21-inch 4.3 monitor for another computer that I got. They had a town-wide garage sale, and I picked up a computer with Windows XP on it. And I was going to throw name on there, and I wanted to get a 21-inch CRT. And those things are expensive now. Like a couple years back, they weren't that expensive. Now they are because people are looking for these bigger CRTs, or not CRT, 4.3 monitors, and they're selling when they come out with them on eBay. So people charge more. Yeah, I got you. I was just behind on the conversation there. I saw 29-inch square monitor and assumed it was 4.3. Yeah, CRTs, yeah. It's a shame. There was a 21-inch CRT that I would have loved to have had at that yard sale thing. It was like 2 blocks away from me. But it was thunderstorming that day, and the idiots had it sitting on a table outside, just rain pouring on it. Ruined it. I wasn't going to buy it after that. They wanted $3 for it, but I wasn't going to buy it. It's not even like taking a chance at that point. It's not going to work. So that was too bad. And the funny thing is, the table that had the monitor sitting on it, getting soaked, was literally like 2 feet away from their garage. They could have just moved the table back slightly and it wouldn't have got wet. But they just let the rain pour all over this thing. But I did find another 21-inch, a Gateway, at a church sale at that same town-wide sale. It was a church basement, and they do their sales throughout the summer, he said. Um, but I had no way to get it home that day. I was not going to carry it. I think I was, at that point, I was about 6 or 7 blocks from my place, and I was not going to carry this thing. And yeah, oh, not LCD. I would love to have a 4.3 LCD. Honestly, yeah. Because I just don't have room for a CRT. But I would rather have a CRT. Because I have a DOS computer that doesn't have a CRT in it. So I need a CRT for that computer. But I need a larger 4.3 monitor for the other computer that I found that has Windows XP on it. Because I'm going to put MAME on that one. I'm just going to run MAME off that. I'm trying to build computers and set up front ends on them ahead of time so that, because I don't know what the future is going to hold for my collection or space wise. And if I do get another cabinet at some point, I'll have a computer already set up and ready to go. That's basically what I'm doing. I have 2 Xboxes set up with CoinOps 8 on them, ready to go. If I ever find an Xbox, the displays that they have for Xbox that they had in the game stores and stuff. So I have that ready to go, but I'm never going to get those. Yeah. Well, you know what? There's actually specific screens that I'm looking forward to. Like, if I had to choose a perfect DOS monitor for what I'm looking for, it wouldn't be a big screen. The big screen's nice, but I would love to have one of those GX TVs that came out a long time ago that you can hook video game systems up to. I would use that as a DOS monitor simply because the sound is phenomenal on that TV. It's only a 13-inch, but that's fine. It's got good scan lines on it. It's meant for gaming, and it's got really good sound on it. So, hey, how's it going? So I would want to get a GX TV. That's for sure. Um, and then I used to have a. Yeah, I actually have a couple 19-inch LCD. I'm trying to go for the maximum size, and I think the maximum size they came out with those was 21 inches. Let's see, the 21 or 23. So I'm trying to find a max size LCD. Because I use a 32-inch in my arcade cabinet now. Yes, that's exactly what they are. The ones with the doors that fold open. And the doors are actually the speakers, and it has a center speaker and 2 side speakers. And the sound on that thing is amazing. And when you're using like Sound Blaster 16 or 32 with these DOS games, it's gonna sound really good. Yeah, those work good for bar tops. Yeah, I used to actually have one a long time ago, and I lost it in a divorce, along with everything else. So I had a comic book collection along with that, and it happens. My Fantasy Star Online account, lost that because the moment that I wound up leaving because she was a, pardon my language, she was a cheating bitch. So I wound up leaving her. And the moment I left, she held it against me and went into my Phantasy Star Online account and erased it. And I had so many hours logged into that game. That was pre EverQuest, I believe, for me. That's an old game. But I wish I could have that account back. I would. I know they were in private servers. I would play that in a hot second if I could get back in it. But I haven't even looked it up. I don't even know how that works. Probably not Mar. I'm gonna call you Mar. I don't know if it's supposed to be March 12th or Maris, but probably not. Um, Simply because I can't afford it. I would probably just rely on HLSL or GLSL for getting it to look like an arcade monitor. I know they have those arcade LCDs as well. Those are pretty damn expensive. I mean, I'd love to have a scanline generator. I've heard that there's cheaper scanline generators, like pretty basic ones that have like just a little knob you turn to increase and decrease the scanlines. But I would want something more permanent. I don't know if I can trust those. Yeah, I don't know if I can trust those, whether they're gonna break or not. I don't know if it's one of those you get what you pay for kind of deals. But I mean, HLSL is pretty good in its own right. I mean, you can't adjust it on the fly like you can with those, but if you find the right settings, then, it's all I really need, honestly. As long as the monitor's crisp, then the scan lines will look good with HLSL. I love how the chat, I can see it on my stream over here in XSplit. I love how the chat there is moving faster than the actual YouTube chat. I don't get it. I see people talking there and things popping up, but they don't pop up on the other chat till like 15, 20 seconds later. Yeah. How many times is this thing gonna repeat? Jeez. Yeah, I mean, I just recently I messed with HLSL a bit, and I just recently got into trying to get all of my, and there the chat crashed. Trying to get all of my systems to display scan lines that were played on a CRT, consoles and all. Um, so I might, if when the time comes, I'll probably look into that more. I can't see myself switching anything on here for it though. But if I get another cabinet, and you said you don't have room for a cabinet, I don't even have room for this one. If you saw my room, honestly, it's crammed into where it's at. Like, I can literally fit nothing else in here. Yet, I always say that, and I still find room. But I can guarantee you, I'd never fit another cabinet. Let me fix this chat here. Alright. Yeah, I would never have room for another cabinet. If I got another one, or I got like a display, an Xbox display, like I want to get, I'd have to start throwing stuff out or selling it. I just don't have room. I got a CRT over here, a 27-inch CRT in this corner with shelves around it. I got my computer in this corner. It's corner desk. I got this big ass monster over here. Directly next to it on the side here, I have a 50-inch TV. And then Skylanders take up the rest of the room. So, really, there's not much space for anything left. I'd have to seriously rethink my room. We're hoping to maybe move eventually and get like a basement for all of our game stuff. But I don't know how well that's gonna work out anytime soon, anyways. Oh my god, see, this is one thing, Brian, that's gonna drive you nuts with Hyperspin. I already guarantee you that. Is that the random spinning isn't quite so random. And it plays the same ones over and over again a lot. And I haven't quite figured out how to get it to become random. For lack of better description. So I changed it to this, but you know what? In 5 minutes, I guarantee you it'll be going right back to that guitar game. Well, don't be jealous yet, because I don't even have a basement yet. That's still something it's just talk for now. There's no guarantee that we'll get one anytime soon. Um, our choices are kind of slim. We live in Whiting, Indiana, and it's a really nice town. The rent's cheap here where we live now. We're paying. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, and it's huge. This place it's bigger than any place I've ever lived in. Okay, it's huge. It's a house, a big house that was turned into 2 levels, and you can literally cut our apartment in half and rent it out as 2 apartments. That's how big it is, and we only pay $700 a month. We are not going to find a deal like that again. So that's one of the major things that holds us back from moving. Um, and the fact that our choices are Hammond and Gary if we want to find something in the same price range. And if you know anything about Indiana, Gary, Indiana is not all, I don't mean to sound ignorant here or anything, but you guys can probably tell by talking to me or hearing me speak, I'm not trailer trash, okay? I'm educated. I don't live in a trailer home. A lot of people assume that because you live in Indiana, you live in a trailer home and you're stupid, okay? Um, wow, good lord, man. But I'm not, okay? But when you move to Gary, you're pretty much pinned as an idiot who lives in a trailer home. That's what you become. Even if you don't live in a trailer home, that's you now. That's your life. You are that idiot guy that lives in Gary. There's so much crime, drugs, guns, shootings, all of it over in Gary. That's like 30, 40 minutes southeast of us. That's cheap? My God, man. Well, this is cheap here. 700 is cheap. I mean, it does have its downsides to where our landlord is an elderly lady and her sons take care of the building and her sons don't necessarily make it their top priority. So we do have a leak on our back porch whenever it rains that they have yet to take care of after a year. He did go up there and slap some tar around and said, let me know if it didn't fix it. And I said, okay. I let him know it didn't fix it. He hasn't been back since. So things like that. But luckily nothing has caved in on us or nothing is seriously wrong. But, oh, well then it's a huge, oh, 1 room for 625. Oh my God. No, thank you. That's crazy, man. Just, well, I was gonna say just get a studio apartment, but if that's cheap, then oof, I don't know. I lived in an apartment in Chicago. Excuse me. That was $650 a month, and that was a two bedroom. Yeah, it was a two bedroom. I lived in an apartment in Chicago that was a three bedroom, and that was $675 a month. Another one, and these were nice apartments, mind you. It wasn't in like terrible neighborhoods. I did live in one apartment that was a three bedroom for free, but that was because I was married to the landlord's daughter. So that was kind of a bonus. But that was a terrible neighborhood. I literally watched the guy outside my window get his head smashed in with a rock and a bottle from gangbangers who lived two houses down. So that was a bad neighborhood. Um, Even worse of a neighborhood if you didn't live there. But it was free. Um, and then I had another apartment. Trying to remember. I don't know. I don't think our last apartment, the one that burned down on us, was $825 a month, and then we moved into this the two bedroom after the fire, and that was $750 a month. So I've never ever seen an apartment that was $2,100 a month, ever near us. That was over. I mean, I've seen them get to $1,200, $1,500 range, but never broke two grand a month. Jeez. Well, that's on the beach, so that's kind of understandable. Although, not really, because we live literally 2 blocks from the beach. So yours was on the beach, so that's a little different, but it's like a 2 block walk to the beach. It's a 1 block walk, or 2 block walk the other way to get these kids to school. Their school's right there. There's a police station 2 blocks away. There's a fire station 2 blocks away. There's a grocery store about Strax grocery store, soon to be Jewel, Osco, about 4 blocks up this direction. I mean, we literally have everything to where you don't need a car ever in your life. If you live here, you do not need a car. You can go to the beach. You can go to this huge park they have there. Everything. We have parades. We have Pierogi Fest, where they it's a Polish holiday they hold here, where you can go get pierogies and sausage and sauerkraut and stuff like that, and pay way too much for it. 4th of July parades where they throw candy to kids and stuff. I mean, this is one of those Andy Griffith neighborhoods. It's a really, really nice neighborhood. I think I mentioned on my stream before about this neighborhood, and that's the main thing that makes it really tough to leave. When our apartment burned down, the Whiting got together to help everyone in our building, including us, get back on our feet. They had donations and everything. Each tenant of that building got $2,000 from donations. We had clothes, diapers, wipes, toys, kitchen stuff, furniture, everything donated to us from people throughout the neighborhood. We were back on our feet literally within a month, because our landlord also had an apartment that was like right behind the grocery store that he was waiting for someone to rent out. But since this happened, he gave it to us since we were the good tenants in the building. Like, we paid on time every month, and we were good people. So he gave us the apartment so we had somewhere to go. But that's the benefits of living in a small town. If that shit would have happened in Gary, the most we would have seen of the community was them standing outside with their cell phones filming the fire. And then after it died down, they would have walked away. Would have never heard from them again. That's the difference between Whiting and Gary. So, and there it goes. See, right back to the damn guitar game. I told you. That's the random wheel spin for hyperspin. That's the thing that bugs me. Yeah, delete that game. No thanks. You know what? I had a buddy over one day, and we were playing this game. We played this game for about 2 hours, okay? And then when we were finished, we hung up the guitars on the side of the cabinet, put them back, and then we decided we were going to play some fighting games. So I loaded up Guilty Gear, Sword Sign, use Launchbox. That's my plan. I've been putting Launchbox together in the background. I'm going to pick up Launchbox pretty soon. I will be switching. But, so we hung up the guitars, we were done, and then we went to play Guilty Gear Sword Sign, and the menu was just going crazy, going everywhere. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why is this messing up all of a sudden? And so we tried to play something else. I don't recall what it was, but it had problems too. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? It's never done that before. It's always been fine. Apparently, I found out that when you when you restart the arcade cabinet, and then you operate the guitars, even though you've hung them up and you're done playing and you turn off this game, they're still operational. And the little sensor bar, or the little sensor bead that's in there that tells when you put the guitar up, when you want to do the special, is going crazy in there. And so it's changing the directions on the controls and everything. So yeah. The only way around that is to use wireless 360 controllers, take these out, and whenever I'm not playing, take out the batteries. For now, I just unplugged them, so I can't even play this if I wanted to right now, because the guitars were unplugged. But yeah, it was frustrating me because, it always seems to happen that way, where everything runs smoothly on your cabinet or your setup. Everything's running perfect until you have a friend over. And then shit starts to break. It's like, this was working yesterday. What happened? We were trying to get our D&D group back together. I was going to stream some Dungeons and Dragons games because I DM for them, I Dungeon Master for them. I figured it'd be something cool to put on my channel when we play. I'll stream the games. I'll set my cameras up to view my side. Although I'd have to make sure they weren't cheating and looking at the stream while we're playing and seeing all my stuff. But was it delayed? What? Oh, the chat between the the chat between the chat that I'm seeing and the chat that's popping up on the stream. There's like a delay in it. Yeah, it's doing that. I don't know why it's doing that. It's the program that's in there. 8 hours to set up Hyperspin and it still didn't work. Hyperspin can be a pain in the ass. I mean, Rocket Launcher makes it easier. I can't imagine anyone who would try to use Hyper Launch with Hyperspin anymore. You're just glutton for punishment if you do. Because that is something that I don't want to ever have to go through again. But yeah, I really wanted to stream my D&D games. Unfortunately, the buddy that I had over that was playing a guitar game with me, he was one of the people in my group. He's the one who suggested getting the group back together because we haven't played since like November. And I said, sure, let's get everybody, put them in a Facebook group. We'll chat. We'll see what's going on and get everyone together. Turns out nobody's available. So it's like, why do we even bother? Like, people move on in life. You know, why are we? And it went right back to the guitar game. What are the chances that it does this? That's what I'm saying. It's it has to go around the whole wheel. It doesn't make any sense how this works. It has to go around the entire wheel to get to this game again, to show the same game twice in a row. Yet when I do this, it doesn't show Fight Cade over and over again. So it'll eventually spin and get back to the guitar game and show the guitar game over and over again. And it gets annoying, so definitely switching to Launchbox. If their randomizer is better, then yeah. Oh boy, I can see the chat's lagging. It's going crazy over there. Oh my god. Let me check the stream real quick. Yeah, it's weird. I'm gonna keep an eye on it and see what's going on here, because I don't know. I don't know what it's. Oh, it's lagging. The stream is lagging. Enter Jeopardy music. Ugh. Okay. I don't know if the stream's lagging or not, but my video has frozen as far as the stream. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. It says, "Oh, you should increase your bit rate." Yet it can't even handle the bit rate that I'm doing. It's so ridiculous. I'm waiting to see this go right back to the guitar game right now. Nope. Okay. That's okay though. I'm hitting that 3 hour mark. I should probably head out. When my internet itself starts acting wonky, that's when I know it's time to go. But thanks for joining in, and Brian, I will send you info on that game once I get it, and let you know what it was called. Heck, I might even do a video on it just to show it off a bit because it is pretty cool. So yeah, I will. All right. Thanks for dropping in, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good night. There's the guitar game again.